I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Oops, the podcast. I'm Giulio Gallerati. I'm joined by Francis Ellis. Francis, how are you?
Swell.
That's good. Swell's good. Swell, period.
I am swell.
That's great, man.
Swell like a surge in the ocean. Like
Swell,
a surfer's dream.
Like I said, before we start, I want to just mention you guys that we're starting an OnlyFans. The baseline will get you guys, warmed up a little bit, but if you want to see the action, you're going to have to tip $20 on top.
We didn't talk about this. I don't know. I don't know if people would pay for that. Will we do the podcast, shirtless? Is that what we would do?
Dude, I'm going to be honest. I think that there's a market of people who would pay to see you naked for sure. Like, maybe not me.
Dude, did I tell you this, that I've been back in the gym
you did
the
tell
last
me
3 weeks, and how good it is to see jack dudes again? No, I'm dead serious.
You haven't mentioned that to me.
How good it feels to sort of, finish a set of something and then look around and just see guys who are, really jacked. It's awesome. I love jacked dudes. I really do. I love dudes that are really jacked because I can appreciate it. I know how hard it is to get there. And I just think myself, well, that guy is so good. He's so good at looking at his body's great. Rippling muscles, filling out his shirt. They got their backs are like a V. It just goes out. Oh man, I love seeing jack dudes. I have so much more appreciation for them. I don't know what it is.
Big back, tiny waist.
Yeah. With triceps, that look like they're like hiding sausages in their arms or something. Just snakes of muscle.
They're certainly hiding them in their pants.
Yeah.
It's the next step.
I also really like jack dudes who don't have tattoos.
Interesting.
Because here's the thing. When you have a tattoo and you're a jacked dude, you have to stay jacked. That tattoo is like an insurance policy.
That's funny.
That forces you to maintain your muscle.
If you get too, you're right, because the tattoo will sort of morph. It'll
become this dead, slack, kind of loopy, weird thing. Where if it's stretched, if it was tattooed onto your nicely muscled body, then once you let that go, it no longer. It would be like a basketball that has, Wilson written across it as a brand. And then if you deflated the basketball, you're like, I can't even read what that fucking says anymore.
It just says W, son.
Yeah. It's just a mess of pathetic, deflated letters.
That's hilarious. That's like the boner tattoo. It's like the same concept, but much more gradual.
What's that?
It's like all right, but like, if you get a boner, it makes the tattoo extend. And then when you're limp, it's now a small tattoo.
Are people tattooing their dicks?
I think that there are people who have, yeah.
Come on, dude.
You know what's funny? I remember when I was a kid, I just thought that any tattoo artist would be willing to do that. And I'm realizing that there's definitely like a niche market. Like you definitely need to ask who the people who are down to do the dick tattoos and Prince Alberts are.
Yep.
For those, I'm sure everyone knows what that is, but it's when you pierce your dick.
Yes.
Looks really painful.
It certainly sounds painful.
Yes, Chris. When you get, do you
is
have to
right?
Really?
You have to have an erection in order to pierce your penis?
Or you have to have fucking Michelangelo doing the tattoo. Otherwise,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the absolute expert on it. But you're right. You must have to take a Viagra or something.
I wonder.
Or one of those samurai pills. You ever take one of those?
No, I have not. I've never been in a situation where I was in some 7-Eleven desperate for, help getting an erection. And I thought to myself, well, if I were to ever take erectile stimulants, I would need them to be of a brand name. For sure.
I understand.
For sure.
So you want to hear something? I took one time.
Yeah.
And that sounds like a lie. It's not. I swear to God, I took one of those samurai, whatever the fuck they're called.
The wolf on the cover in glitter.
Yeah, there's some kind of like
holographic wolf pack.
I don't know why there's always like a predator on it. It's
because
like
they're
you're clearly
virile.
not a predator. No, it makes
like,
sense.
You know, you want to have sex with the
Be
strength
like
of
the
a
tiger.
6 wolves.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's so dumb. But anyway, one day, like I was hanging out with a girl who I was seeing or whatever, and for whatever reason, I just wasn't feeling it, and like I kind of felt bad about it, and like I didn't want her to feel bad, and it got really weird, and I just like literally like we're half naked, and I'm like, oh my God, I just remembered I have a comedy show. So I left her apartment. I walked around for 2 hours.
What?
Yeah, I just walked around like killing time, like acting like I had this comedy show. I then went and bought one of those samurai pills just in case, because I was like in my head now. And when I walked in her door, like they make you feel hot, like physically hot. I walked in, I was like, okay. It was like that, dude. Like all the blood rushes to your head. It was like
your body just fighting off infection.
Yeah. And then we just had like hours of like primal.
So it worked.
Yeah, it works, and it makes you have like a really like your best showing, as far as not sexually, but
This
like
is crazy. I always
visually,
thought,
you look the most impressive you've ever looked.
no way.
All the blood is rushing. You're like thick. You're fucking rocked up, and you're just ready to fucking party, dude.
Interesting. I'm too nervous to take them.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. I had a really bad headache.
I've heard that. You know, I had friends in college who would get bootlegged Viagra.
Yeah.
Or the other big name one. I don't know.
I forget what
Celsius? No, something.
No, I know what you're talking about, but I don't
not
remember.
Celsius, obviously, but whatever. The one with the bathtubs.
The one with the commercial.
Yeah. And they would take it because they would get so drunk that they couldn't, feel anything. And then this would allow them to get an erection. And not only would they get an erection, whatever, they would finish in pretty quick time. For them, it was the regeneration.
I've heard that.
That it allowed them to go for another round much more quickly.
Totally.
That the rest period in between was much shorter.
Totally.
And, when they told me this, they were using it into being 24, 25 or whatever. And it was as if, I just remember thinking, I don't really need to have sex 2 or 3 times in a night.
Totally.
Totally.
It's short-sighted. Like, sure, you seem cool for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
But then you fuck your dick up.
Do you?
Dude, yes. I know kids who like used to take it when they were teenagers all the time.
Well,
and
that's true.
And now they can't get a hard-on anymore. And they're like 25.
See, that's it. I wouldn't want
up.
to become reliant on it.
Dude, it's not. That is the one place where it is not worth it. I know I just told that story, and I know I told one other dick pill story, but those are the only 2 I have. And I'm glad that I've never taken anything else because, like, I'm in my 30s now. Like, there's no way my dick would work.
Yeah, I think once you open that can of Pringles, you
you can't stop.
You're eating Pringles the rest of your life,
Once
man.
you pop, you can't stop.
That's
baby.
exactly it. You can't go back to normal, means of getting turned on. And I just think it's fine to use it if you really need to, but it should be a last resort, sort of.
Agreed.
There's a reason that the majority of those users are in their like 70s.
Totally.
This is your last resort. You have months to live.
Totally.
And if you want to get a few more pipes in,
yeah,
with a dick that you haven't felt anything down there in 2 decades.
Dude, totally.
Since the Reagan era. It's just no responsiveness.
Dude, well, that made me think of something. Like, imagine if you were on death row, you could choose to have sex with like professional sex workers instead of having your last meal.
Is that true?
I don't know, but that should be offered. Like, instead of being like, I want a fucking whatever steak au poivre or whatever, you get a threesome with like 2 professionals.
Yeah.
And just eat the prison food.
I just tend to think that there aren't so many. Imagine being a professional sex worker who the state correctional facility had on their radar, right? So like there's like a connection between therefore like a vetted kind of person with probably some kind of profile and credits and maybe a baseball card of some sort.
Stella.
Yeah, Stella, right. And is she going to be so desperate that she's willing to come have sex with someone who's about to get the gallows?
Let me tell you something, dude. This is the dream job for a professional sex worker.
No.
They put you on retainer. You're just always getting paid. There's no risk involved.
There is risk involved.
You're monitored.
Do you think of all the people that a professional sex worker could sleep with, don't you think a death row inmate would be the last person?
I think it would be the first person. You're actually doing meaningful things.
Oh, that is so altruistic. You're such an idealist in that because that person, even if they're not allowed, weapons in their cell, they're still going to they're going to do some bad stuff. And then what? A guard's going to jump in and pull you apart while you're both naked?
Yeah, a guard.
He's going to do some horrible stuff to that poor professional sex worker.
I don't know, man. You've been on death row 10 years. Maybe, you're a little more sensitive now. You appreciate the feel of a woman.
All right.
Or a man.
You're picturing these, movies that have been made about falsely accused.
Bro, what movie's been made about this? All right, about falsely accused.
Death row inmates who are, truly
have
have held on to their hope. And, maybe their girlfriend 15 years ago put herself through law school and then came to their defense, and at the very last second, DNA evidence exonerated them. But the reality is, I think a lot of death row inmates have, every inch of their face is tattooed. And they've got like fangs that have been, surgically implanted. They've slit their tongue and pierced both sides. That's the guy. You're sending Stella.
The guy who works at Hot Topic.
Hot Topic on steroids.
Yeah, Hot Topic.
Yeah, you're talking about guys that have like committed crimes. I mean, the death penalty is not levied lightly.
Right. People who've committed crimes against humanity.
Yeah. The death penalty is the crimes for which people are sent to whatever, the needle, I guess, the injection now, are so horrific that you don't even hear about them that often.
Right.
It's like home invaders who murdered and raped everybody in the house and then burned it down.
That happened, right?
It did.
Cheshire, the Cheshire murders.
Is that New Connecticut?
Yeah.
So a friend of mine who was working in the DA's office in Connecticut was like privy to that case.
Dude.
And he would tell us about the updates. And it just made you think, the people who did this aren't human.
Dude, I was in Connecticut this past weekend performing. I performed in Southington and then I performed in Colchester. And to get to these places, I had to drive on 84, which goes across Connecticut. And it's crazy. When I was in high school, I would drive on 84 and like in this city called Waterbury, there's this big cross on a mountain. It's like kind of creepy. But now, since then, like that was like 2000.
I know that city. I've driven by that before.
Right. So that was like 2003. That was before both Sandy Hook and those Cheshire murders happened. And those are both along that road. You pass by Sandy Hook and Cheshire, and it's like creepy as fuck, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, what a tragic route. Yeah,
the
Crazy
Cheshire, because I remember Connecticut wasn't exactly a state where people were, stomping their feet in favor of the death penalty.
Right.
And it was happening. So it was still a state where it was allowed, but it was so infrequent that, I feel like they were on their way to voting it out.
Right.
But then this crime happened. And I think enough people universally were like, this is the one that we've been waiting for. We've held on to the death penalty for this.
Right.
And the defense attorneys were advocating for, life in prison, like multiple life sentences, solitary confinement. Maybe I have the facts wrong, but it was like, we'll do anything. We're willing to broker a deal just to avoid the death penalty, and the prosecution, I think, went forward with said, no,
really?
we're not
I don't
accepting that.
remember.
And
Oh.
in most cases, they will.
Chris is fact checking this. They
They both got the death penalty. Have they been executed? They have been.
Those guys deserved it, bro. I mean, that, like, if I don't even want to talk about it, it's so fucked up.
It's so fucked
the
up.
Cheshire murders or something. There's a documentary about it that will ruin your week. So
yeah, it's not.
If you're feeling like that's something you're into, check it out.
You know, we talked about. We don't mean to get grisly here, but I guess we've been tending that way.
Get
a
a little
bit.
gruesome. It's tough times, man.
We talked about the American Murder documentary.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
And the Cheshire murders will make that one look. Well, not, but you know,
I agree with you.
it's
I
in the
think
same vein, but even the
it's
Cheshire
worse.
murders are worse.
The
They're
Cheshire
worse.
murders are worse.
It's worse. Yeah.
Dude, let me ask you a question. I was thinking about this weekend, and I was thinking I should ask Francis this because he would know. So in every movie, and in not even just movies, in life, you hear about, oh, he had some shitty public defender. He had some shitty public defender. And I just am wondering, like, is there like a logistical reason why public defenders are worse? Like, I can't imagine that, like, they're dumb. Like, they're still lawyers. Like, they still have to study. Let me finish before you clarify. So my thought process is like, maybe they just have too many clients, and that's why they can't dedicate enough time to the cases. They don't have a team of lawyers like these big fancy firms do that they can devote all of these like resources and people to. Because it's not like every lawyer just has it all in their head. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the thought process that I was going through, and I thought maybe you could help me with answering this.
Yeah. So the way I understand it, and I worked in the district attorney's office as a paralegal in my like second or third year in New York with the intention of going to law school, bolstering my candidacy. That was why I was there.
And you started law school.
I went to law school
Right.
for 4 days. Yeah.
I love how Mike Francis is the legal expert here. 4 days.
That's all I've got.
But no, you have enough
But working in the
experience to
DA's
know.
office,
Yeah.
I saw a lot of how these cases develop.
Totally.
And basically, public defenders, there's kind of like two reasons to do it, because it's a really thankless job.
Right.
You have to believe. There's two reasons. One is you believe so resolutely in our Constitution and the right for everyone to have a fair trial and to have their own attorney.
Right.
And you believe in that. You're like you're an ideologue. Or an idealist. Excuse me. And you just say like, this is a right I believe in the
Right.
same way that some teachers will go teach at like the worst public schools.
Right. To try to make a difference, like a Brian Stevenson type.
Yeah. But
person.
it wears you down because you are, your clients are lying to you constantly. You're basically trying to help somebody who in many cases has done something horrific.
Right.
And you're trying to help them get punished less badly or fairly, I guess would be your mindset. And so a lot of these public defenders I think they get like, they're required to take like a month off a year, or they have like it's like, a week on, a week. There's some
Seems like a
kind of
good
thing
rule.
where like the state recognizes these people need to step away from the job because it's so soul crushing.
Oh my God.
But I think, you can work as a public defender for many years, and then you switch over to, a private defense firm.
Right.
And that's when you start making a lot more money
Right.
because you've figured out the court systems, you've developed relationships with judges, you've understood, you've seen the playbook from both sides, you've seen, how good prosecuting attorneys attack cases, you've learned how to fight against them, and then you go and join a white collar firm and start making tons of money defending guys like OJ and stuff.
Got it.
So, but to your question, why are they bad?
Yeah.
I think you get kind of both ends of the spectrum. But for one, it's just not that high paying of a job, right? So if you're going to be a defense attorney, most people go where the money is,
And especially because you just spent $500,000 on college.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So like, why wouldn't you want?
Lawyers who went to the top law schools are typically going to big, defense firms or big private
corporate
law firms,
firms, or
corporate law firms. because that's where the money is. And then, so, they're just like, maybe they're just not as smart or as good. And secondly, I think they get handed a shitload of cases.
Right.
And they're brokering deals as quickly as they can. They're like pediatricians. Like, let's get in. You got the measles. Here's this. How many clients can I see today? I got 50 cases. It's much more often the situation where they're just like, they're settling, right?
Right.
With the other side and taking plea deals and stuff and trying to going to trial. I don't know how often private or public defenders are advocating to their clients. Like, I firmly disagree with what the prosecution is pushing for here. And you've been falsely accused, or we have a real chance if we take this to trial. Usually, I think most public defenders will only go to trial if their client insists upon it.
Right.
Insists.
Right. Like, they'll try everything to convince them not to.
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
But I'm not, I'm sure a lot of that is just guesswork, honestly, from my side. The other thing you see, though, which was cool, I thought, was that you would get these, on the other side of it, the prosecution, from the DA's side, you would have these prosecuting attorneys who were trying to, put the bad guys away. And they would do this for, I don't know, 6, 8 years, 10 years, whatever. And then they would go work for big private defense.
Right. I didn't know that was a
firms.
thing. That's interesting.
And they would get hired. They would get paid fucking a ton of money.
Right.
And they would switch teams.
Right.
Because they knew the playbook from that side of it.
Interesting.
And that was really valuable. And then you also have, I remember the financial crimes department at the district attorney's office, who, these guys are, and the U.S. attorney's office too, they're prosecuting, Enron and AIG and massive antitrust lawsuits for billions of dollars. And they would do that. And then after they had done their time, they would go out of the public sector and go get hired as the in-house counsel at like JP Morgan.
Right.
And get paid,
get paid an insane amount of money.
Massive amounts of money, because those firms valued so much somebody who had come after them for so many years. They're like, we want you.
That's crazy.
To now play for us.
And that's like with Leonardo DiCaprio and Catch Me If You Can. He's like a counterfeiter. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie, but he's like, it's a true story. It's about this guy who's just like committing fraud left and right, like a mastermind. And instead of putting him in jail, they just like hired him.
I love that who hasn't seen Catch Me If You Can?
It's funny you say that. I was talking to somebody yesterday who had not.
I feel like it's roundly considered one of the better movies ever made.
It's real. It aged really well too. It was good then. It's still good.
It's like, yeah, that reminds me of this movie, Titanic. I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's a boat and it sinks, and there's a lot of life lessons.
Dude, I don't know. I thought too that was on that level, but I don't know. I've encountered people recently who have not seen it.
I want to talk to you about some stuff.
Sure.
So we have been given we've been kicked out of our apartment. We're getting kicked out.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Everybody in the building is getting kicked out.
No way.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
The ownership team has decided they're going to convert all of the 8 apartments in this building to condos to sell.
Jesus.
And I think one of the reasons is that among the ownership team, there is it's like a brother and his cousin. And they kind of inherited the firm or the building or the investment property and spearheaded it. They're both, I think, Italian. And one of the brothers is great. He's a total straight shooter, great guy. I've interacted with him a bunch. Lovely guy, young kids.
Love it.
The other guy is a wreck.
The bad cop.
He's a wreck, dude. He
like he's a dick, or he's
just totally off the rails. Something's wrong with him.
Jesus. He's
the guy who, when I first moved in here, 2 months in, his buddy broke into my apartment.
What?
Did I not tell you that
You never
story?
told me this.
You don't know about that?
Please tell us.
I was asleep in the
I
bedroom.
don't know the story.
This was before I was dating my girlfriend. She was all alone. Sunday night, 3 a.m, I hear someone rummaging around in my bureau in the hallway right here.
In the apartment.
Yeah. And I opened up the sliding door a little bit and I saw this guy 5 feet away in my apartment.
What'd you
Middle
do?
of the night. I kept the door kind of closed and I was like, what the fuck are you doing in here? The thing was, I recognized him. I had seen him hanging out with the owner.
Right.
And at that time, the owner was staying in an apartment in this building.
Gotcha.
And they would like hang out. They would listen to like loud, spooky organ music. I'm not kidding you,
That's
dude.
crazy.
And they would leave their door open. The door to their apartment would just be wide open. They were smoking tons of weed, and didn't even smell like weed. It could have been other shit.
Jesus. Dude.
Just real weird. And so this guy's in my apartment, and by the way, I sleep naked. So I'm like, part of me's keeping the door kind of closed because I don't want like, I feel very vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, oh, sorry, I'm lost. And I was like, get the fuck out of my apartment. I'm calling the police. What are you doing in here? And he was like, chill out, man. and then he walked out the door down here, and I saw him get into the elevator. So I was like, well, he's going up to the street level. And then I ran upstairs to the front door, and the front door was open.
Gotcha.
So he had come in through that door, and I waited, and then he came out of the elevator, and I took pictures of him.
Oh, wow.
And he goes, don't take pictures of me. Why are you taking pictures of me? Just calm down, man. And I was like, you just broke into my apartment. Get the fuck out of here. And then I called the police, and I spoke to a dispatcher. I called 911, and she asked me to provide a description. I did. 5 minutes later, the cops were here.
That's impressive.
It's white privilege.
Regardless, it's still impressive that they showed up so quickly.
It was very impressive, but that's what you get when you live in a nice neighborhood.
Right.
And they had caught the guy. And these 3, beautifully uniformed NYPD officers come in with all their walkie-talkies blipping and bleeping, and they were like, what happened and blah blah blah. And then they had him in a cruiser, and so they I guess they weren't allowed to like say, is it a guy that looks like this?
Right.
Because if they do that,
That's
they're like
leading you or
tipping my
something.
hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were like, we have a guy in the car. We want you to come out and look at him and tell us if he's the guy. And I came out and I looked at him and I was like, yeah, 100%. This is the guy. Wearing the same exact outfit. 100% sure.
I'm impressed they caught him so fast.
They caught him immediately. He was like 1 block away. He was just like walking. He wasn't even running or anything. And so they caught him, and then I had to go testify in front of the grand jury.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Because the same district attorney that I had worked in that office was prosecuting this guy. I think this was one of a number of crimes that he had committed, but
Really?
they couldn't tell me
He was
that.
trying to steal shit from your apartment.
So I remember
That's
seeing that he
crazy,
was
dude.
like buttoning up his pants when I saw him.
He's
like
just
his
jerking
belt.
it in your apartment.
I had a stack of like tax documents and healthcare forms that I had meant to take into my office at the time to shred because they had compromising information. And I think he was stuffing some of those down his pants presumably with the intention to sell them or steal my identity, whatever.
And this is a guy who just been hanging out in the building with the owner of the building. Did he get a master key?
I don't know.
How the fuck did he get in?
I don't know.
Dude, that's crazy.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, he's hanging out with one of the owners.
That's so sketchy.
And so I testified in front of the grand jury, which was pretty exciting. But this was the funny part. This was the funny part. When I went in for a preliminary, like a pretrial hearing or whatever not hearing, but like you go in for a meeting with the DA. And it was a woman, and she said, listen, I've become aware that you're a comedian and that you have a pretty sizable social media presence. And I was like, took you long enough. And She goes, I've realized that you are talking on your radio show about this case. You are blogging about it. You're putting Instagram things up about it, and you're tweeting about it. It's becoming very difficult to paint you as a victim.
Oh, right.
When you keep joking about this stuff. Every time you talk about it, we have to turn it over to the defense as evidence.
Right. Jesus.
You know, having said that, like what you're putting out is pretty funny. And I was like, you should have started with that, because it's much easier for me to accept criticism when it's couched in praise. And I don't know what came of that
That's
guy.
crazy, bro.
But I ended up, like, I got a month of free rent for it all.
That's good.
Like, I reached out to them, which frankly should have been more. All of that is to say, they're getting us out of here.
Crazy.
And so we've started looking for a new apartment.
That's so crazy.
And
you probably get a good deal.
We went and saw 6 apartments yesterday.
How was it?
Buddy.
Were you high for it? Or is this the real deal now?
I was hungover for it.
Oh, man.
Which means that by the 3rd apartment, I was sitting down on the couch like a kid in a museum who can't handle it anymore. Yeah. I was worn out, and, she's looking through like cabinet space and, asking about the central air. And I'm just sitting there being like, I don't even care. We can live on the street. Doesn't matter, But dude, here's the crazy thing. 'Cause I haven't looked for an apartment in 3 years.
Yeah. It's crazy.
You forget about a lot of it. And one of the things that's interesting is, you go to these open houses where you are staggered with other people coming to see it by 15-minute increments.
Right.
So there's a lot of crossover. Either you see the people who saw it before you coming out as you go in and you pass, or you arrive a little early or something and there's another couple waiting. Mm-hmm. I started to size us up against these other couples. And it turned into this competitive thing where I was like, well, these guys aren't even fucking attractive.
Yeah.
This is just a shittier version of us. No chance they should get this apartment. This place is way too nice for them. They didn't even dress up. They're wearing sweatpants. Do they not give a shit? You start to think, like, who deserves the apartment the most?
So I was wondering, did you see any of the same couples at different apartments?
No.
Like working the circuit?
No. But you do, when you're in the apartment at the same time as another couple walking around with a different broker, you feel like you're sharks sort of circling the same dying, fish.
Is it uncomfortable?
It's just
like, would you prefer that they're not there?
A little bit.
Yeah, it seems like
a
weird
little
as
bit
fuck.
because you start to think like, are we bidding against them?
Right.
Are we, are they gonna, like, at the very least, if we end up living here, other people have walked through and been like, not good enough for us.
Right.
And then it makes you feel a little shittier about it. Or, I don't know, maybe it makes you feel better because they made an offer and you beat them. I don't know.
Right.
But
how's the apartment market? Like, did you like the apartments you guys are seeing?
So everyone's like, New York City apartment rentals are down 20%, 30%. It's there's blood in the streets. It's crazy out there. And I think there's truth to that in certain neighborhoods.
Right.
I think.
Are you looking in the same neighborhood?
We are looking in the worst possible places.
Meaning like the most expensive places?
We have not learned our lesson whatsoever. Yeah. We are not trying to find, we're trying to find a deal, but we're looking in, Chelsea, West Village, Greenwich Village, Soho, and Tribeca. And
Class A situations that are like more recession proof than other neighborhoods.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a reason that these open houses are full. Whereas if we were looking in Hell's Kitchen, the Upper West Side, maybe some of the Upper East Side, or I don't know.
Financial district.
Yeah, places like that. Luxury buildings are getting crushed right now. Right. New developments are really in trouble. And the thing is this, right? Like, rental yields in New York City were already pretty thin, meaning if you're an investor or you buy an apartment with the intention of selling it as a co-op or renting it as a co-op, right? And you hold this asset, especially if you've bought it in the last 3 to 5 years, you bought it at a time when New York City real estate was doing very well.
Right.
Which means that, you bought it as an expensive thing. Your mortgage rates are high. You're paying a lot, whatever, your HOA fees, your taxes, all of that's high.
Mm-hmm.
And so even in the best of times for the rental market in New York City, you were probably doing just better than breaking even.
Right.
You don't start to make...
Up until like recently.
Yeah.
Even before this happened.
Yeah. You don't make a ton of money renting a property in New York until you've like paid your mortgage way down or all the way off. And then all of a sudden you're collecting gravy.
Right.
So now that the pandemic has hit and rentals are there's such a surplus of them, these people who own these places, how many months can they afford to just eat the taxes, the mortgage, all of that? They need rent.
Totally.
And so you're hoping to find someone who's desperate, which is why you want to look on Street Easy and see apartments that have been listed for 130 days and have that down arrow that says like decreased
Price
10%
drop,
in July, decreased another 8% in September, decreased 5% in October.
Or something's been on the market for a while.
Yeah, and then you can start coming in with super lowball offers. My most successful friend in my life, who I've told you about before and makes, tens of millions of dollars in finance, has been bidding on rentals that are like $40,000 rentals.
Yeah.
Full family homes.
Right.
And he's coming in with like $17,000 offers.
Wow.
And at first they're like, what he does is he just fires off using the Street Easy app. He just fucking messages the broker and he's like, I'd be willing to pay this, but we could move in immediately.
Right.
And 9 out of 10 people laugh at him. Right? They're like, that's insulting. Last year we rented this for $80,000. This is a penthouse 5-bedroom in Tribeca. It's worth this at least. Like the owner won't consider.
Right. And he's like, all right, well, fuck you.
1 out of 10 is like
they counter at
desperate.
Least. Right.
Desperate. And they'll have a response. And then you start working with them and you come up a little bit and all of a sudden they feel a little better. And now you're getting your apartment for way under what it was market value.
That's cool.
Now he's having more success with that. I think when you're talking about these ultra luxury, crazy places, the ability, they're like nobody's looking for a $50,000 a month apartment.
There's a bigger margin
right
to
now.
Like drop the price.
The
down.
field we're playing in, unfortunately, is much more accessible to a lot more people.
Right.
So
a lot of people who like still are working.
Yeah.
And like have good jobs and like they can afford it still.
And everyone has the same mindset of like, now's the time to look.
Right.
We have a flexible current lease. We can get out whenever we want. That
get a better price. Totally.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we're not having as much luck. But I've been sending out these lowball offers, and the responses that I'm getting.
Are people pissed at you?
They're like, who the fuck do you think you are? Yesterday, I bid on a $16,000 a month townhouse in, Union Square. I bid well under half the list price. And they were like, we literally got a $15,000 offer yesterday. Are you kidding me? Like, good luck, buddy.
That's crazy.
But the thing is, we don't know where the bottom of the market is.
Right.
And we don't have to be out of this place until January 15th. So
you have time.
It could get way worse.
Right.
And at that point, I want to come back to these
Dude,
guys
I imagine it will.
and see if the places are still listed and be like, remember me, bitch? Remember me, you little fuckface?
Remember me,
Remember
pal?
when you laughed at my
Here's my offer, but in order for me to accept you're accepting it, you're going to have to apologize.
Yeah, and I want you to
buddy.
send me a picture of yourself wearing nipple tassels saying I'm sorry.
Would you send me a picture of your dick?
I want you to send me a nude as collateral for this apartment. Something.
That's great.
I want these fucking
Vengeance.
suited. Dude, all these real estate guys, they wear the same fucking outfit to show the apartments. They're all in jeans and a blazer.
Just a bunch of keys.
And like a polo shirt under the blazer. You're like, dude, you've dressed for 3 different events. You dressed for a fucking wedding, a golf outing, and brunch. These 3 worlds don't blend. You don't look good, and you're not selling me this apartment whatsoever.
Dude, it's gonna get cold, and I think it's going to be like you're going to have more success in a month and a half.
I think so too. But we did find an apartment we really liked.
Really?
We did.
Nearby?
Not far, 15th and 6th.
Love it.
It's awesome.
Sick.
But get this. We were there on a Sunday. It's on the ground floor. And we go in, and there is a line on the opposite side of the block, directly across from the entrance to this place, of maybe 300 homeless people. It's a soup kitchen. Now, I have no real problem with that.
Yeah.
I don't. But for a young woman in New York who, coming home late at night, I have to consider her reality, which is that she just feels a little bit more nervous about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel bad even saying it, but that's just
right.
It's just I wonder how much that like actually affects the property value,
Yeah, you have to imagine it affects it. I mean, unfortunately, like you said, like same thing with like methadone clinics and stuff. Like they try to like clean up these neighborhoods and like build nice apartments, but it has to negatively impact it when there's people sort of hanging out, do it like
right,
wandering around,
right. Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know.
Well, dude, I was wondering, did you happen to catch the Kanye West interview?
I did not. I still haven't listened to it.
Well,
I don't even know if I have much interest.
Fair.
Why are we giving this guy who is unspooling?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we continuing to put him center stage? I think he needs help.
So I listened to it, and I don't know. Like you said, you maybe don't need to listen to it. He's definitely like bounces around a lot, but I also took a lot of positive things from it. You know what I mean? I took like
good.
Listening to him, and even though, like you said, he definitely kind of shoots for the stars and like says a lot of shit. Rogan even calls him out for kind of like grouping separate thoughts together and like not elaborating on them. So he was kind of having to like reel him in and whatever. But if you listen to it, I took away from it too that like you shouldn't be afraid to be creative. Because, like you can say what you want about Kanye, and like obviously he shoots from the hip and like says a lot of crazy shit. Lots of the time he doesn't know what he's talking about, but you can't take away from the guy that he's like innovated so many different things, which they even point out, like he made church cool. He changed the music industry, changed the fashion industry. Like he's done so many impressive things like that you kind of are like, okay, well, this guy at least tries. He has a lot of energy. He does stuff, and it like inspired me to like focus and be creative. So
I am rooting for Kanye West.
I wouldn't vote for him, but like
no, I'm rooting for him to find balance and to continue to innovate in the way that he has across genres and fields and really contribute wonderful things to this world, which he has done for the majority of my life.
Right.
From, his earliest album, whatever, the College Dropout, all the way through all of his music, really, I mean, has been groundbreaking and spectacular, to his fashion, his sneakers, all of that. I root for the guy.
Right.
And I don't hold his like MAGA thing against him. I think, he's like had some moments where his brain was just kind of twitching, malfunctioning
a bit.
And he's checked himself in. It's like well documented. I mean, the guy clearly, his brain is like such a powerful thing that he can't control it all the time.
Right. So another thing too they were saying about that though is like a lot of the times the medicines that they want to put him on, they kind of just like lobotomize you.
Yeah.
Which like even though it makes life easier for your loved ones, it isn't necessarily doing you justice.
No. And this is a creative person, perhaps the most creative person of all fucking time. He needs access to the fire.
Right. To do totally. So another thing that it made me think about is like people kind of talk to me, they're like, oh, you're a comedian, whatever. And like we know a lot of creative people. But I find that like most of the people that I know have that. I think part of it is a choice. Like choosing to like explore that part of your brain. And I think that like, and not just comedians, just like anything creative, and I think that everybody has it. And like, it's up to you to decide if you want to use it or not. Like you don't have to, And because like some of the most, I've heard people that I know who don't do creative things say super fucking insanely creative shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like, I don't think it's fair to be like, this person's creative, this person isn't creative. That I think everybody has it all, and that you just get to choose what you want to do with it.
Maybe that may be true. I think on a more practical breakdown of it, this is what I've experienced in my life. There are people who are really good at succeeding within a structured environment, right? So a 9-to-5 job, you know, needing to be places at a certain time, getting their work done, staying focused through the day, and then coming home and like living their outside life, whatever. I was always somebody who I tried to do that. I tried hard, you know, and I was definitely on a track for that. And I was applying for finance jobs my senior year of college and going to the interviews and like doing all of that. And not having much luck because I just didn't have any interest in the fucking stock market. And I couldn't read the Wall Street Journal to prep for these interviews. And I did even the district attorney's office job, which, you know, required me to be there from 9 till 5 every day. We had like whatever 10 vacation days a year, and it was really strict. You had to show up and you had to do your work. Even that job, it just within a month, it was me fighting not to fall asleep and being so disinterested. And the same was true of law school. And it was the only 2 jobs that I've ever been able to focus on and get better at were comedy and tutoring. And the tutoring was good because I could creatively find ways to connect with kids. Every kid was different to me, and I needed to find out what made them motivated to do their fucking work, and then I would play on that. And so, you know, I think that it's different. There are different types of people where like I just could not succeed in a structured environment. And you know, maybe there are people who work in that environment and do really well, who if they came over to our world would do well too,
or wouldn't. And I think that's interesting too, like the idea of like tolerance. Like, how much tolerance do you have for that? Because I don't think anyone wants to be doing those things a lot of the time. Like those people don't want, they wish they had more vacation. They wish, you know what I mean? But and I feel the same way. Like when I worked in a normal job, quote unquote, for like a year, it was really fucking hard for me to do it. And even though there are very unique challenges with my current lifestyle, it's definitely something that I feel that I can tolerate more than some of my counterparts who have a more structured life, like you said. Because it's really hard to structure your own life. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Especially when you have to like be self-motivated, and like if I don't sit down and think, nothing's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like that's like a pressure. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it is. There is a challenge in not having any obligations.
It's
where
hard.
You know, it would be easy to just fuck off and not do anything all day.
Totally.
But then what? You're just a lost loser.
Right. And there's a parallel with like on being an entrepreneur, which like, and granted, I guess you could argue that we are, but it's like it's completely kind of different also. But it's so those people, like it's so much harder than like, you know, people are like, oh yeah, you want to be that guy, and then you can hire the people. But like being the guy who gets hired is like much easier to do than to like be the boss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is why I think I have a renewed respect for like people who take that path the way that you did, where like you go to the good school, you get good test scores, you do whatever, and then like you get the opportunity to get these really good fucking jobs where like you don't own the company, but like you are getting paid a fuck ton of money.
Right.
And like it's easier. You get told what to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something alluring to that as well.
I agree. It wasn't, I want to add this. I was not struggling with authority. It wasn't as if like the confines of that world were holding me back. I've never needed, you know, the ability to have complete control over my life. I've been fine being coached and being held accountable for things and having a schedule. It was more that the work just didn't interest me, whatever.
Right.
You know, especially whether it's like pushing money from one pile to the next or the law stuff. The work that interests me is like, how can I convey the way that I see the world in a way that other people think is either funny or interesting or relatable or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's a tricky thing.
Totally.
But dude, it's, you know, I think it's never too late to try to inject some creativity into your life. Pick
Yeah.
up a musical instrument or learn a language or whatever.
Totally. And it doesn't mean you have to quit your job.
Yeah.
You know, like you can do it. Like there's how many people do we know who like didn't expect to end up doing being a professional comedian or whatever, who then like ended up having to quit their job because they no longer could. They started to get so successful they had to.
Do we know a lot of those people?
Kinda, yeah.
Really?
Like I definitely know some people.
There are a lot of comedians I know who I want to say, like, you know, you have room for another job.
Right. That's definitely true. No,
You could definitely add
especially
some
early on.
bartending to your life.
And I think that there's value to that too. Like it's really important to keep your life together while you pursue it, because if your life falls apart, it's really hard to like put energy towards being creative and stuff. But dude, so it's interesting you say that. You're like, the work didn't interest me. Doing comedy and like doing that was interesting and kept my interest, all that stuff. That's very interesting to me as well, because I think there's like two reasons why you are where you are, like doing this. There's like that obvious reason. And for me personally, there's that, but there's also something else. Like there's this like weird thing where like I felt like it was a way that I could like be noticed or something, like some like fucking therapy session discovery type shit.
Yes.
You know, like this is just, I'm just speaking for myself, but like when I was in college and stuff, there were all these like rich kids and like I felt bad about myself. It made me feel bad. Like no one, like those kids got so much more attention. They got like all the girls and like they didn't do anything to get it. And a lot of the time they were like stupid. They were like these rich kids who like got into the school where like they were lower on the totem pole in their high school, but because they went to a good high school, they got in.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like really smart public school kids there too. It was like one of those schools. And like these, and for me, I was like, how can I like stand out? I think that had something to do with it. You know what I mean?
Were you bitter?
No, I wasn't bitter, but like, it certainly doesn't help when like your girlfriend from high school comes to be with you at college and then just like starts dating, like in the circle of like the rich kids. That's
insane.
It's brutal. So dude, like,
just
you know,
such a bad life event.
Right. So that's part of it. So I'm like, how can I like, I wonder if like to some, and I don't know how directly linear of a thing it is, but I wonder if I was like, what can I do that'll make people notice me? How can I how can I get some attention?
Out with a chip on your shoulder?
Like me, I don't even know. Like, cause I didn't feel like it. I wasn't like, I'll show them. Like it didn't even feel that like that. So at first I like took on a job where there was a high earning potential. So I was like, I'm going to do this job. I'm going to bust my ass. I'm going to make money. And then while I was doing that, I started like messing around doing stand up, and eventually just like got disenfranchised, like didn't enjoy doing my job anymore. And then kind of was like, I'm going to try to do this now. And it'll somehow like offset the fact that I don't have any money.
Yes. You know, listen, dude, we're in a time where our generation, and I think the ones that have followed us, have been led to believe in this immediate gratification, this instant success. And I don't know if it's an entire country of spoiled kids or what, but you know, this idea that after by the time you get to college, you should have a good idea of what you want to do after college, and then, you know, follow this and you hit your check marks. And by the time you're 30, 35, you've got your dream home. And that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that's never been, when has that been the case?
I know.
You know, for our parents, my dad and my mom both held 5 or 6 jobs before the ones that they ended up in, which were very, very different.
Right.
From what they ended up doing. My dad was a reporter for a local newspaper, and then he worked on a small, you know, state senator's campaign run, and did all these kind of like random jobs while he was figuring it out. And your 20s used to be a period of trial and error.
Right.
And I
Interesting.
still think that hunting for the job that is right for you, if you can manage it, a process of elimination is not a bad way to go.
Absolutely.
Try different jobs, get what you can out of them. And it may sound like people are going to say like, well, it's easy to say that when you've got, disposable income or money behind you. Listen, I was tutoring knowing full well that wasn't what I was.
Right.
Like I was always able to pay my own rent, even though I was trying lots of different things. I was tutoring, studying for the LSAT, going to law school, withdrawing, working in the district attorney's office. I bartended for 6 months. I've done all kinds of random shit before I finally got to a point where, one, I knew the job that I hoped to have long term, and two, was finally able to live from that job.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't, if there are any 22-year-olds or 23-year-olds listening right now, coming out of college in this very uncertain time, if anything, I hope that the pandemic and the drier job market gives you a moment to breathe and to sort of relax and say, you know what, now I can really consider, since there aren't as many options available, maybe I can, everybody's moving with their family. It's not as stigmatized anymore. Take a moment to fucking think about what you want to do, try for it, go do it. And if it turns out you don't like it as much, don't be afraid to fucking pull out.
Totally. And by doing it, by doing something that you don't like, you just get a step closer to doing something you do like.
Yeah.
You learn and you can, it's not a waste of time to try something out because you might end up liking it.
Right.
And it's also not beneath you. This idea that things are beneath everybody, like you said, the instant gratification culture has made it I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. You don't want to put in the work.
Right.
But I think that the way Hollywood set up does a disservice for that because you think that people just became superstars overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time we know that's not the case. People have been at it, and especially in what we do. But
yeah, I think John Hamm, James Gandolfini, those to me are the examples I think of when I think of Hollywood, because those guys were living in their fucking cars, going to auditions into their 30s, getting, a commercial here, a bit part there,
right.
doing some extra work. And then John Hamm gets cast as the lead of Mad Men, and now he's an A-list celebrity. James Gandolfini gets cast as Tony Soprano, and becomes one of the most celebrated actors of all time. There are plenty of stories that counter the idea of 18-year-old sort of child star who just continues to build from there.
Right. Totally.
So take your time. I don't know. Don't be afraid to reset.
Yeah, you're not a loser because you're not making $1 million and you're 23.
Yeah,
that doesn't make you a loser.
All right. Well, boy,
good. Awesome.
Lots of life lessons. It's a bit more of a self-help book that we threw at you today, but hope you enjoyed our episode of Oops. As always, send your thoughts or stories to oopsthepodcast@gmail.com. Please follow our Instagram, our YouTube, rate and leave a review for our podcast. Tell your friends about it. I'm at Francis C.C. Ellis. He is not Julio with a J. And we will see you on Thursday.
And buy some merch.
Hell yeah.
Guys, if you like this video, why don't you go check out some of our other videos? They're right there, right on the screen. We love you. We really appreciate it.
Oops.